This is the Son of the Law podcast. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Son of the Law podcast. I'm your host, Jay Christopher. Joining me in studio today is Lee. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Lee, good to know you. We've known each other for quite a while, and those of you who don't know, or me or Lee yet, get ready. Lee and I have known each other for quite a while, so you just get to be the third chair here and listen to what I hope is a great conversation. So, Lee, I'll let you start. How did we come to know one another? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Jay Christopher came into my life whenever I was 6, so it's been some time. I'm 32 at the moment, and I have 3 older sisters, and he married the eldest of those 3, and I was the fun-loving 6-year-old that whooped him in Mario Kart, and whenever he came to visit, small town Lawson, and the rest is history.
That's about right. I couldn't have said it better myself. We've had a blossoming relationship over the years, right? Met you when I was in college, and you were still really young.
Mm-hmm.
Come a long way from wrestling in your front room, and now we're here.
Yep.
So, really looking forward to chatting with you today, so that everyone can get to know you a little better. I found that there's few ways to get to know somebody better than rapid fire questions. So I've got a few for you here. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Sounds good.
First, and there's no wrong answers here, but...
Oh, there are. Then they'll become clear.
I guess that's true. How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Like if you could make the perfect PB&J that you to die for, the one that makes you think it is just awesome, what would you make? And
if
how?
you'd asked me 10 years ago, it would have been Wonder white bread with the, I don't know who makes it anymore, but it's grape jelly and peanut butter in the same squeeze bottle.
Oh, the same squeeze bottle.
The same squeeze bottle. And
I remember it when it was in the jar.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No, this one's a squeeze bottle. That way.
What's it called when it was in the jar?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yep. And just lay that on real thick and slap the 2 pieces of bread together, and that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Now, though.
That's 10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Now, I would probably say I'm pretty crunchy nowadays. If that's what they call it, I think.
Okay.
I would do sourdough and homemade preserves and smooth peanut butter.
Oh my gosh, that sounds complicated but awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And how much peanut butter do you use? Do you cut the crust off? Is any toasted bread? Do you do anything extra? You just like it fresh, clean white bread?
No toasting, just the sourdough. Leave the crust on. Not too much peanut butter. Not too much jam or preserves.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm more of a I want to see the face of God with the amount of peanut butter. I want to question whether or not my mouth is going to open back again because there's so much peanut butter in there it locks it tight.
I like it. No, that's not for me. I'm going to pass on that.
All right, section 2, this or that. I'm going to give you 2 words. You pick one of the words that you more closely identify with, and
Wow.
Pause. That's a train. There's a train going by.
These are excellent microphones, by the way.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, you're like, what's happening? Is the world falling down? Okay, I'm going to give you a series of this or that questions. 2 words, no wrong answers. Of course, there might be wrong answers for somebody who's listening, but you pick one. No, you don't even have to explain why you picked it. It's just this or that.
Oh, I plan to explain it.
Okay. Coke or Pepsi?
Neither, but Coke if I had to pick.
Okay. Chess or checkers?
That's easy. Imbeciles pick checkers.
All right. Earbuds or headphones?
Earbuds.
Salt or pepper?
Pepper.
My way or highway?
I don't even.
I threw that one in there.
I'm gonna say my way.
My way. Okay. Orange juice, apple juice?
Ooh, orange.
Beauty or brains?
I mean, Jessica's got both, so
Bam!
that's a good one.
You know, I heard recently that Jessica is the new Karen.
Oh, yeah.
Like in today's world, you know, the Karen is, you know.
For those of you who don't know, the third chair, that's my wife, Jessica.
Thank you.
She's not a Karen.
No, she's not a Karen. No. But they say, like, if Karen is last generation's Karen, Jessica is the new Karen.
Oh, that's good.
Like Jessica will F you up.
No.
That's the type of girl that you don't want to play around with if she's crunching coupons. You know, you don't want to have a chicken get loose in the hen house. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All right, let's get back to this. Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds?
I have to even think about who Ryan Gosling is, so I'm going to say Ryan Reynolds. I know the name. I don't know who it is, though.
Oh, that's fantastic. Summer or winter?
Winter.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Dog. Thank you. I was going to say, I'm not sure I know you if you were to say cat there. All right. Fiction, nonfiction?
Fiction.
Vacation or staycation?
Staycation. 100%.
Early bird, night owl?
Early bird.
City, country?
Country.
Cider, beer?
Cider or beer?
Cider or beer?
Cider or beer. Cider.
One more train. Isn't that fantastic?
That's pretty impressive.
Try waiting until you're like sitting in there, and then like the refrigerator kicks on, and then the air conditioner kicks on. I mean, it is no good. It's no good.
Is this thing picking up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should I not do that?
No, it's fine. I was actually listening to like Joe Rogan, that you can hear him pouring coffee. I mean, it comes with the territory.
That's fair.
And that's really like the beauty of what we're doing, because people are here. Like,
yeah,
we're having this conversation. Both you and I listen to a podcast called No Dumb Questions. They kind of regularly talk about the third chair. That third chair being the audience. You know, we have a extra chair here in the room, and you know, that
makes it more realistic.
Yeah, we're right here in it.
More real.
All right, hot takes. Do you know what a hot take is?
A hot take. If I had to describe it, I would say it is a controversial opinion.
Okay, before I give you some examples, do you have any hot takes of your own? Or I'll give you an example or two, and you tell me if you have any. It's okay if you don't have any. I mean,
okay.
Sometimes people are just cool. No issues.
Okay.
Other times, somebody might say soup is gross as a hot take. Hot take, soup is gross.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that one.
Okay, skinny jeans are still stylish?
They were never stylish.
Thank you. Do you remember when the girls used to wear like the clam diggers or whatever, where there was like culottes? I don't know, where they were like 5 inches above their ankle.
I have no idea what that is.
I don't exactly. They decorated themselves for themselves. It wasn't because they wanted people to think that was attractive. Capri pants. That's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, clam digger and a capri pant, I think, were the same.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. I thought you were describing a flare out, maybe, or bell bottom or something. I don't know.
I think those are equally as disturbing.
Probably so.
I do like the new mom jean look, though.
Ooh, what's a mom jean?
I think it's
gonna sound be good.
I don't know. I feel like if I keep talking,
plead the fifth on
I'm
this.
just gonna dig a hole. So I'm just gonna leave that one alone.
I was hoping you might go for it.
All right, another couple hot takes here. Pineapple is not good on pizza.
Well, that's correct.
Them's fighting words, boy. Them's fighting words. How about the hot take? Moist.
Moist as a word.
Oh, yeah.
What an awful word.
There's so many people that love or hate that word. Don't care, or it just sends chills down their spine.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no good. All right. There's other ones, but do you have any of your own original hot takes?
I don't know that I do. I'll have to think about that one.
All right. If you come up with anything, let us know.
I will.
All right. Pet peeves. You have any pet peeves?
Yes, in fact, I do.
Go.
I'm gonna say, whenever somebody's walking and they don't plant their foot where it intends to land. So if they're dragging their feet,
like,
I'd,
like a funky gait.
I'd tell Jessica often that she's gonna wear the bottom of her shoes out, and she hates it when I say that. Yeah. That's one. Another is if you're gonna leave the fridge open, also don't leave time on the microwave. That's barbaric on another level. If you decide to leave time on the microwave, it is inconsiderate of the people after you.
That's awesome.
Because they have to take time out of their day to put their food in the microwave, cancel the time off, and then set their own time.
Oh, that's the travesty of a first world problem. Like
It is.
stopping the time and adding new time. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. There's a coworker of mine that's all amped up over regardless versus irregardless. Irregardless is not a word. It's regardless.
Well, irregardless of that, I like to use it.
Yeah. I've since used that term several times just to mess with them. It's awesome. All right. Some other pet peeves, interrupting, people who walk slowly, turning without signaling, gum chewing loudly, slow drivers. During my commute, I struggle with the people who drive slow in the left lane. That really bothers me.
Yeah. I don't know. That one, I generally don't care too much about that one. Got a podcast in or something, or audiobook. You can let that one go. But better not be dragging your feet around me. I don't like that.
You're a better man than I.
Hardly.
All right. So, embarrassing stories time. Those of you, if you don't feel like you know Lee now, you may never know him. I'll just say that. He's pretty transparent. And there's nothing in the 25 years I've known him that's led me to believe anything that he said wasn't factual. So we're going to go with that. But I can't have you on here without embarrassing you a little bit. And so when I met Lee, like I said, he was like 6 years old. And we got to a point where we were joshing around, playing around a little bit, wrestling.
I didn't have any older brothers. I had older sisters. I didn't have anybody to wrestle around with. And yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you were the cool college guy coming home.
Cool college kid coming home. Until the cool college kid is wrestling you, get you in a package, which package is like, you wrap them up and you get their arms and their hand and you basically tie them into a ball as you're wrestling them. And I was doing that to Lee and was rolling over.
I resorted to the only measure I had left.
Which was a little turdlet that rolled out of his pants and onto the floor by my face where I was sitting. And I
make it sound like I did this on purpose. I did not.
I know. Yeah, it was just an accident, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just 6-year-old moving a little too quickly in the bathroom. Well, I love it. So,
yeah, I don't know if that was on the same day or different day that I whooped you in Mario Kart.
That's true.
6-year-old.
That's true.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't. You talk about not having a brother growing up. We didn't grow up in a house with video games, so I didn't have any video games like at all. One time, well, I say at all. Dad bought a Commodore 64 at a garage sale when I was like 13, and then Nintendo was out, Sega. There was all these cool things out there, and I didn't have anything like that. It was Commodore 64. And so playing you on, what was it? It was Nintendo 64. 64. Yeah. So we're playing Nintendo 64 and I'm like trying as hard as I can. And I'm realizing after you're smoking me, like, you're looking at my screen. You're driving your car and looking at my screen. And I'm like, this cheating, no good little 6-year-old son of a motherless goat is reading me the riot act here.
Oh, that was the beginning of screen watching.
Oh,
split screen video games. That was a whole nother level.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. Well, you've come a long way. Like, you're not 6 years old anymore. And for those of you who don't know, we're kind of sitting in my basement, cozy space. About 6 o'clock at night, Nice light in the room. Lee is a man now, 32 years old, as he said, and ladies, he's taken. Are you 6'4" or 6'5"?
6'4".
6'4", size 13, 14 shoe.
14.
Oh, thank you for the correction. He's got like the perfectly chiseled jawline and all this wonderful lumberjacky vibes, working for him. Lovely wife, excellent family, like awesome. So it's a pleasure now. It's a pleasure now to talk with Lee about his hobby farming. And I was thinking, is hobby farming the right term?
I would yeah, I don't know. I maybe on the beginning fringes of that.
Okay.
We have chickens. I'm just going to point out the things that I would say are more hobby farm-esque.
Okay.
We have chickens that we got last spring. And we have just put in an outdoor wood boiler this year.
Okay.
So those are two things that I would point, and we garden and stuff too. But
we just garden and we cut our own wood and we make our own bread and we have goat milk soap and
no goat milk soap yet. That's down the road.
Okay, down the road. But
I would like to get goats,
I think you're sandbagging a little bit, and that's fine. That's what we're going to... For those of you who are with us still, thank you for your patience. We're 15 minutes into this, and we're like, what are these guys talking about?
We don't know.
We don't. And we're not even going to try to explain it. So I think you're enjoying yourself. I'm enjoying myself. We'll keep going. But I was thinking about hobby farming, and then I was also thinking about the term hobby farming. And if you think about a hobby, it's something that basically somebody does because they enjoy doing it. It's actually having fun.
Right.
And they're having fun farming.
Right.
So you are a fun farmer.
I'm a fun farmer.
It's possible then to say that you are the fun farmer.
I'm the fun farmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to coin this so that maybe you can put fun farm over your driveway and brand yourself as the fun farm. But I think you might have an issue with some
I think that might be taken.
It might be taken.
Might be taken.
All right. So shout out to the fun farm there in Kearney. If you want to do a little cameo on our podcast, we'd love to have you. Maybe even sponsor a show.
Hey, how about that? Hey, we had a season pass this year. Went several times. It's great.
Awesome. So what we're trying to do here on this podcast is introduce you to local people who've got really cool stories and who can teach us things. So having some exposure to Lee and watching him put this wood boiler in, it got my creative juices going. And I'm thinking there are people that need to hear this. I think it's super cool. And in fact, I was talking with someone recently about your project, and they had no idea what an outdoor wood boiler is.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes and talk about that project specifically and sort of just dialogue about the whole system, because I think that is an overlooked part of home heating in this case, or hobby farming, if you will, right? Effectively, you're heating your own home naturally.
Home, and the air and the water.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those who have aspirations to live off grid and whatnot, this is a very sustainable way to heat your home when it's cooler more than it is warm in this climate. So just starting there. And because we say I put in an outdoor wood boiler, let's just start from ground zero. Assume I have no idea what you're talking about, because until you did this project, I was not familiar with it at all. So what is an outdoor wood boiler? Is it just like a wood stove outside?
Kind of, with a few other elements involved. So, and actually I had this conversation just at work today, and I would agree with you that I think there's a lot of people that don't even know what it is, or that it's an option for home heating or HVAC or anything like that.
Okay.
So an outdoor wood boiler is like a giant wood stove that's outside, and it has the reason it's called a wood boiler is because it has a giant water tank that's surrounding the firebox.
Okay.
So it looks like a little shed outside, basically, and it's got a great big door on the front, just like a wood stove. You open it up, there's a giant cylinder on the inside, and that's the firebox. And then around that, there's a larger tank that holds 220 gallons. This model does.
Okay.
And so essentially, you build a fire in the firebox. It heats up that water in the water jacket, they call it. That's the water tank that surrounds the firebox.
It sounds cozy.
It's very cozy. 180 degrees cozy. So you heat up that fire. That's why it's called a boiler, right? You're not actually boiling the water, but you're getting it very, very warm. And then there's a pump that pumps that hot water, generally 180 degrees. You can that temperature can vary. You can adjust it depending on the climate and whatnot, how cold it is. 180 degrees. It pumps that hot water through a pipe in the ground that you install, and it goes into your house. And that hot water goes through what's called a heat exchanger.
Okay.
So that heat exchanger is essentially like a radiator in your car. So it goes into this heat exchanger. It's got a bunch of little tubes in it and run through a bunch of little fins. And that goes inside your furnace, your existing home furnace, your central air.
Like the A coil.
Like right above the A coil.
Okay.
Exactly.
So A coil is where you'd have an air conditioner.
Correct.
It runs coolant through. So it goes out to the air condensing unit outside, that's loud and annoying thing that sits outside everybody's house.
Yep.
That runs through into the
A coil.
A coil, or inside.
That's very cold.
Yep, only it's on the cold side. The air blows across the cold and it sends cool air through the house. This is the opposite of that.
Correct. So it blows air through this heat exchanger, and it pulls heat off the water into the air, and it pushes it out and through your vents and heats your home.
So does your house smell like smoke?
Not at all.
What if I want my house to smell like a campfire?
Well, you better have a fire inside then, because an outdoor wood boiler is not for you.
Okay.
So, and that's the other thing. So, you pump this hot water in, it goes through the heat exchanger, and then it returns to the wood boiler to be reheated, and it just circulates the water that way. You might ask kind of how the water temperature is maintained.
Yeah.
So on the outdoor wood boiler, there's a thermostat out there, and it measures the temperature of the water. So there's three major just components of the wood boiler, other than the actual physical firebox and the water and all of that. There's three components that work. There's the thermostat that measures the temperature of the water. Then there's the blower that controls how much oxygen the fire gets. And then there's the water pump that actually moves the water from the boiler to the house. So the thermostat, the way I have mine set, it turns on the blower until the thermostat, until it reads the temperature at 180 degrees. When it gets to 180 degrees, the thermostat tells the blower to turn off. And whenever that turns off, it essentially cuts off all oxygen to the fire. So by doing that, it's going to cool the fire down. So whenever that happens, it reaches 180 degrees, it kicks the blower off, the fire gets cooler, the water around the fire gets cooler. Whenever it drops to 170, you can adjust the number of degrees the limits before it kicks back on. Mine, I have it set up so it kicks the blower on, gets to 180. Whenever it gets to 180, the blower kicks off, and then it lets the water temperature drop to 170, and then it kicks that blower back on and brings it back up to 180.
And that's just a continuous loop.
Continuous loop. And of course, depending on how much your furnace is running, how cold it is outside, what kind of wood you're burning, that all kind of affects how quickly that water temperature drops,
But you just plug it right into your regular HVAC though.
Yes.
So it's on demand. It calls for the...
Right. But all of those, so yeah, in the house, it works just like a normal propane furnace or natural gas or heat pump or any of those things. The thermostat in the house calls for heat, it kicks the heat on, you're good to go.
Fascinating. There's so many people who are like, I'm not going to burn wood. It's so messy. Doesn't sound like this is messy at all because everything stays outside.
Correct. I have a giant wood shed that I built right next to the wood boiler. I walk out there twice a day, in the morning and the evening, and load it up with wood, and it's good to go.
That's incredible.
Usually, and this week actually is the first real test we've had. It's gotten down into the teens, but I can load it up, and it's still, it lasts about 12 hours. It doesn't want much more than 12 hours. It starts to get hungry after that, but you feed it, and it's good to go.
That's awesome. So, what motivated you to install this in the first place?
A couple things.
There's some people out there who are like, I do not want that kind of work in my life.
I like to cut wood. That was one of the driving factors. We live on 10 acres. We've got we've got the wood to do it. We don't have to haul it in. So that was I like to be outside. I like to cut wood. It's good exercise. I don't work out.
Fellowship too.
Good fellowship too. We had a wood burning or wood cutting day.
Right.
Had a bunch of people over. Had some soup. Soup is good. That is a hot take, apparently. But we had a good time doing it. We had splitter running. We had, I will say that's another nice part about the wood boiler. That door, it's not like a small wood stove. It's a big, outdoor shed looking thing. So you can fit some big rounds in there. You don't have to split everything.
Brilliant.
Which is excellent. Yeah.
Let's talk about energy and cost savings. So, like, how do you even consider buying something like this? And then what's it ultimately going to save you? Is it really just an offset of propane?
Yes.
How much is propane?
Propane, last year when we bought it was $1.76 a pound.
And how many pounds would you typically buy?
About 800.
So you're buying $1,500, $2,000 worth of.
Yep, just shy of 2,000. Yep, last year.
Cost benefit and payback on this thing is what, 2 years?
Depends on how much you pay for it and how much it costs to install it for you. So generally, if you bought a new unit, they're usually in the 8 to 9, maybe 10,000 unit range. I got mine secondhand. That's another nice thing is there's not a large market for these, so I think people get into it and then they don't want to cut the wood. They don't want to, deal with it anymore. They'd rather just turn the propane on or whatever it is, and that's totally fine. Or you just get in other interests and you're not going to use it. And people, they just sit there and rot or rust away. And I was fortunate enough to find a guy it was lightly used and wanted to get rid of it.
That's awesome. I heard it said once wood burning warms you twice. Once when you cut it, and then once when you burn it.
That's right.
So that's exciting. Did you research like specific brands or anything? I mean, it's just they said this is so foreign to me. I wouldn't even know where to start. So
yes and no. I have another brother-in-law that has this is an Earth brand fireplace or firebox wood boiler, and he my brother-in-law, he had one, and it was the same brand. He bought it new. They actually manufacture them in Missouri, which is really neat. They have a proverb or a psalm, I believe it is, right there in their manual.
Okay.
That was another driving factor. I like them for that. American made. So that's the other thing, actually, that Earth is the brand name. That Earth kind of boasts over the competition is that they say compare a like model that generates the same amount of BTUs. And look at the weight. So they say that their, like model of another company is going to weigh more, and that's because they say they have thicker steel.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons that I like this one. The firebox steel is actually 1/2 inch. A lot of them are 1/4 inch.
So way more efficient.
Way more efficient, but also way more durable.
Okay.
A lot of the newer models actually, EPA regulations and things, there's, some of them that are, and some of the, wood burning stoves that you have in your house and inserts in a fireplace and things have these too, where they'll have like reburners on them, so they're incredibly efficient if you're burning really dry seasoned wood. If you have anything that's got any moisture in it above 15-20%, then it's going to struggle and it's not going to be as efficient. The one I have it doesn't have a reburner on it, which I appreciate. It's versatile. There's less things to break. It's literally a box with a tube coming out the back, and if you can throw it in there and light it and burn it, it'll burn.
That's awesome. Okay. So all of this sounds amazing, but it also sounds really complicated. So surely you didn't put something in like this yourself, did you?
Thanks for the softball leading up to that. I did after a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of research.
Lee, you need to be a professional to do these things.
Yeah, I'm a professional homeowner. Okay. I call that a pro-ho. Professional homeowner.
Pro-ho's going to the Home Depot.
That's right.
For those of you who were just offended that I said Home Depot, I'm going to throw my son under the bus here. He's 3 years old and he wanted to go to the hardware store with me, and he could not say home. So it was everything he said came out homo. I want to go to the Home Depot, Dad. So anyway.
Well, like I said, after a lot of YouTube videos, you can learn how to do anything on YouTube, right?
Mhm.
So that was kind of, and I was motivated to do it. I was really intrigued by it. I wanted to do it. I talked about just liking to be outside, liking to cut wood. I also just there's a self-sufficiency portion of this as well that
Mhm.
I can really appreciate. Not off grid or anything like that. But you could, right? You'd have the option. You're not relying on somebody to bring propane to the house. You're not
Right.
relying on, any of those things. So that I do. There's an element there that I do appreciate.
That brings really good peace of mind.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. We were talking about cost savings as well. So depending on how much you have in it, the actual furnace itself, the pipe that goes in the ground, the plumbing supplies, the heat exchangers, all those things depend, on all that and how much for me, the price of propane was, that's the number of years that it's going to take for me to offset it. For me, it's going to be 2 years. It's going to be less than 2 years, which is great.
So like, just if you're comfortable sharing, what did this thing cost you? Like where are you at
Sure.
on all that?
So if I were to buy the model that I have today, new, it would be, I think last I looked, it was $899.99. So
Okay.
$8,999.
Okay.
$9,000. That doesn't include installation or the pipe that goes in the ground.
But that's all the pieces that you would need to assemble, or is that just the firebox?
That is just the wood boiler.
Okay.
Yep. You'd still need the heat exchanger, the pipe, all of that.
Okay.
The pipe that you put in the ground is, it's inside there's several different variations out there. I went with I wanted it to be efficient. You don't want to obviously lose all the heat that you generate with the wood,
Right.
heating the water. You don't want that to be dissipated into the ground on the way to the house.
Right.
So it's like $10 a foot. It is, and we needed about 85 feet to get into the house. So that's a large chunk. It was, yep, with tax, it was just shy of $1,000 for the amount of tubing that we needed to get to the house.
Yep.
So that's got that pipe. It's a corrugated black pipe. It's double walled, insulated, and it's got 2 1-inch lines of PEX in it. And
Okay.
that's the kind of, it's not copper. It's an actual 1-inch PEX pipe. That's what the water is. The boiling water is going through. So just shy of $1,000 for the pipe. Like I said, that unit that I have is would be about $9,000 new.
Mm-hmm.
I found a gentleman who had used it 3 seasons, but he'd had it for I think 7 years, but hadn't used it every year that he'd had it. And he was asking $1,500 for it. I asked him if he'd take $1,200, and he did.
That is a screaming deal.
It was a screaming deal. So I will say one of the biggest challenges that we kind of had to overcome with this too was the fact that this thing is 2,000 pounds. So I bought this from the guy that lives in Springfield, Missouri, which is about 3 hours from Kansas City, where we're located, just northeast in Lawson. So that was, how are we going to get this thing here? How are we going to load it? Because you can't even get enough people. People can't lift this thing.
Yeah.
You got to have
You
heavy
need
equipment. Yeah. It actually just worked out that, really ironically, he had a friend that was selling a gas pump to somebody in Lawson on that same weekend. And he saw that I lived in Lawson on Facebook. And he said, "Hey, this is really random, but do you want me to, I've got a skid loader. Do you want me to throw it on their trailer? And if you can get it off the trailer, find a way to get it off the trailer, and I'll drive it up there to you." I said, "That's fantastic." So anyway, this is neither here nor there, but that was, I borrowed a friend's tractor to pick it up off the trailer and, get it where it needed to go. Was picking the back end of the tractor up. It's real heavy. But it's got pallet fork, a spot for pallet forks on the front. So you do have to have some sort of heavy equipment to lift it.
Oh yeah.
After you load it down with water, 220 gallons, it's just north of 4,000 pounds. It's real heavy.
For real.
You have to have a concrete pad to set it on. Anyway. So like I said, just shy of $1,000 for the piping to get into the house. $1,200 for the boiler. And then after excavator rental, plumbing supplies, heat exchangers, we're right at $3,000 on the install. Maybe $3,100.
And time.
And time, of course.
Yeah. So then if you look at what it would cost to buy all that stuff new and then pay a professional to do it, you're probably in the 15 to 20K range for somebody to just
Correct.
turn the key and do it. But
Correct.
you know, I want to say thank you for this inspires me, and I think it's going to inspire others. That's something we're trying to do here as well. You know, you professional BSer, you know, you talk about being a pro homeowner or pro ho. Is that what you called it?
Professional homeowner.
I'm totally using that.
That's it from a YouTube channel.
I might put that on the, that might be my second post on Instagram. I'll just take a picture of you right here and call you my
Pro ho.
friendly neighborhood pro ho. All right. Yeah, but what you've done is you didn't take no for an answer. You said, I want this. I can do this myself. And through research and time and passion and interest, you figured it out. And that's incredible. And that makes for a really great story. So, let's see. When it comes to like, burning around the house, does you get super smoky? I mean, you've talked about, you got lovely wife, kids, anybody getting burned? You're worried about anybody? You're not worried about anybody stealing the 2,000-pound thing sitting out there, but
right.
You know, I mean, what are some concerns that you might have with it?
Yeah, I don't have too many concerns about it. You know, the space where I have it, I do want to put a spark arrestor up on the chimney so that, you know, whenever it's really roaring, the fire's really going, I've seen it kick a couple of sparks out the top of the chimney. But there's really, you know, obviously from digging the line, and I kind of tore up any landscaping that was around there. So there's really nothing for it to burn. But I would like to put a spark arrestor on the chimney so that there's no chance of that.
Sure.
But
I don't even know what a spark arrestor is. Sorry.
It's like a screen. Basically, you put it around it so that it doesn't kick out any sparks.
Okay.
Big embers, really.
Okay. So it catches it.
It catches it so that it doesn't go out to catch anything on fire. Yeah. But it's far enough away from our house that I'm not worried about that. The smoke, you know, honestly, whenever it's burning really hot, it's not making a lot of smoke. Whenever you just load it down, you know, and it's heating up the cold wood that you put in there, it does make some smoke. We live kind of down in a valley, so we don't get a lot of wind. So it just kind of goes straight up, and we haven't noticed any bother from us. Our neighbors aren't too close. Haven't gotten any complaints there either. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the thing you're right now enjoying the most about having it?
I enjoy going out to load it. It's fun. I just appreciate that.
I'm going to hold you to that when it's like January.
Oh, I'm
and
ready.
4 degrees below zero and like 5 in the morning and you're getting ready to leave for work and you got your clothes on and
That's right. It's part of my routine now
cussing
already.
at God and the world.
No, never. I'm ready for it. I get up in the morning and I put my boots on and I walk outside and load it down, and it's great. And then I get home from work and top it off. It's all fun.
That's awesome.
I enjoy it.
All right. What would you recommend for somebody who's considering this? Is this something you do again? Is this something you'd say to the average homeowner? This is doable on maybe on a scale from easy to not easy. Where would you say this fits in the realm of complexity?
Sure. If you have general DIY plumbing skills, you can do it. What you do need is access to heavy equipment, or the want to or know how to rent that equipment to get it done. And if you have that, then I would say it's in the medium range. It doesn't require a ton of, you know, complex skills or knowledge. It just takes a little time. Yeah.
I mean, that's all well and good. I think there's still probably people out there would go, I just, they've never done it, you know? And that was something that you'd never done this before either, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, give us some hope there. How do you personally say, I've never done something before, here goes nothing?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you've really kind of set, you're striking out onto the a new adventure, if you will, and then if you fail, right? Does that go through your mind?
Not necessarily with this.
You're counting out $100 bills for times
Right.
20 or
Right.
30,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not thinking at all that this is. You're not worried.
I wasn't only because I knew that I was confident that I could get it to work. I knew that the boiler was a good investment because I'd gotten a good deal on it.
Okay.
And I knew that if I could get it to work, then I was going to save some money on propane.
Okay.
So it wasn't, it wasn't just a hobby investment to where there wouldn't be any return. I had gotten a good deal on the boiler. I knew that if I could get it to work, then I would be making money back on the propane. So that seemed reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And, I the other side of it too is like, if I don't get it to work, I turn the propane on and, we still heat our home.
Right.
So there wasn't ever a moment where I was like, if I can't get this figured out, our children are going to freeze.
Right.
You
Right. And we haven't talked about this at all, but you're also really interested in like repairing your own vehicles and doing some of your own homework, home ownership type stuff. I mean, you renovated your house when you moved in. I mean, you've YouTubed the heck out of YouTube.
Yeah. Well, you have to. I mean, I think you're the one that said you can't live to a certain standard, based on the income that you have. If you're not, you live to a higher standard if you're willing to DIY a lot of things, right?
Yeah. That's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I said that?
You did. You did.
That's surprising.
Dropping wisdom.
All right. Anything else you want to impart on us before we let you go here?
Yes, actually. Another challenge that we came across when doing the wood boiler is, and you were asking me about the rating it on a complexity level.
Oh yeah.
Like, you dig you bring an excavator or whatever, trench the line so that you can put this line in the ground and everything's well and good. And then you think, how am I going to drill a 4-inch hole through 8 inches of concrete?
Oh, in
the foundation wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's little things like that you kind of run into that you have to figure out along the way. And we have a good friend that through his company, he had access to a big core drill that I was able to drill that with, and it worked great. But those are just kind of the small obstacles that you got to overcome, here and there. I will say, one other thing for anybody that would be interested in doing something like this, and I think the best setup, I researched several different types. There is something called an aquastat that you put in the house. So what this aquastat does is your thermostat in your house, like a Nest thermostat. We have a Nest thermostat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever that Nest thermostat calls for heat, whenever it's trying to kick the furnace on.
Okay.
So it sends a signal down to turn the furnace on. What I did was I put what's called an aquastat in that line. So on that thermostat line. And so whenever your Nest thermostat calls for heat, it runs through that aquastat, and the aquastat is sitting on one of the big PEX lines, the 1-inch PEX lines that has the 180 degree water in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you set that aquastat to a certain temperature. I have mine set to 100 degrees. So whenever the Nest thermostat calls for heat, the aquastat says, is this water above 100 degrees or not? If it's above 100 degrees, it sends a signal on down to the furnace and says, just turn on the fan. This water is hot. That's going through the heat exchanger, and it's gonna heat the house.
Otherwise, it'd turn on the propane?
Otherwise, it'd turn the propane on. So that aquastat, whenever the Nest thermostat calls for heat, it runs through the aquastat. If the aquastat says this water is less than 100 degrees, it's going to send the signal on through the furnace and say, turn on the propane and the fan.
So it's all automatic?
It's all automatic. And if I let that fire go out in the boiler, we're still going to have heat in our house.
Oh, that makes Mama happy.
Mm-hmm. We're heating hot water, too. We haven't talked about that either.
Oh, I don't even understand what you just said. What does that mean?
So not only can you heat your home with it, you can hook it up to your hot water heater, too. So the way that I have that set up is whenever the boiler lines, the 1-inch PEX lines, whenever they come into the house, it runs through 2 different heat exchangers. It runs through a water-to-water heat exchanger, and then it runs through the water-to-air heat exchanger. Water-to-air is your furnace. That's in there. It's blowing the fan. That's what we've already talked about.
Everything we talked through.
Yep. Water-to-water heat exchanger it's like a big rectangle, and it's got 4 ports on it that you hook 4 different hoses into, PEX lines.
Yep.
And there's a boiler line that goes in, a boiler line that comes out, And then you have your house water that goes in and your house water that comes out. The waters never mix. So the boiler water and your house water doesn't mix. They're totally kept separate. But what this water-to-water heat exchanger does, it's called a plate heat exchanger. Similar to the water-to-air one that we already talked about. It's got a bunch of plates that it runs through, and it basically runs the boiler water and the house water in parallel to one another and exchanges the heat that way. That way you can also heat your hot water. So whenever you turn on the hot water in your house, it pulls house water through that heat exchanger, and it pulls heat out of the boiler water into your house water.
So you're saving propane and electricity if you got an electric hot water heater.
Which it is, and that's correct. Yep. And you have endless hot water, which Mama likes too.
Yeah, when you're taking care of the baby number 1 and 2 and 3, and then old Papa gets a shower, sometimes Mama's left without water, and that's not okay.
Not okay.
So we need to make sure
Absolutely.
she's good too.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, what's the next project? You've got chickens going. You said you started last year. You've got wood boiler. The project's coming to a close now, I'm sure.
It's
Wood's
good to
cut. You're ready to get into the winter. Like, what's the next project for the fun farm?
For the fun farm, the next project would be, we want to clear some land. We've got a little bit of acreage that has a lot of underbrush on it. We'd like to clear it out, primarily because that way we can get back there and get some more wood as well. So I would say that's probably next on the list.
That's awesome.
And goats. I don't know. We'll see.
They say goats will actually eat that underbrush.
That's why I want them. Yep. Jessica's not quite on board with the goats yet. We'll get there, though.
All right.
We'll get there.
Well, Lee, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Like I said, really do appreciate you coming by, and we'll have to leave it there. Till next time.
Was glad to have. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks, everybody. This has been the Son of the Law podcast.